Hello and welcome back to Versus. Wanted to start off this episode by saying a massive thank you to everybody who has joined the channel, subscribed since the year end. That was a successful video last time around, so welcome in if you're new here. We are going to be going through one of our matches from our weekly Sunday morning events here in Nottingham, and today we have a grind fest of Grixis Madness versus Abzan Delirium. So two mid-range decks playing against each other. And to help me through it, we have our 2024 Canlander champion. Hello, James.
Hello. That's a nice way to be introduced. Very, very, very humbling.
Yeah, you've got a title now.
Oh, lovely. Poor Henry, eh?
Not everybody has a title. Do you want to tell us about what Hal's playing today?
Yes. So Hal is on a very aggressive mid-range deck. So it's almost tempo, and but it doesn't have very much in the way of counter spells and stuff like that. It's very low to the ground, but like looking to grind out a lot of value from using the graveyard, as you might expect from the Madness name. There's lots of cards that get value in graveyard, cards that have value for discarding, ways to kind of manipulate the graveyard and bring things back, like some cool pet cards like Burning Inquiry is always a fun one to see. Cards like Careful Study outside of the Reanimator package. There is a Reanimate in here, just points. But in general, the points are, like I said, Reanimate, Strip Mine, Psychic Frog, and Treasure Cruise all at once, so you see a bunch of things that do care about and use the graveyard as a resource, and then a couple of mocks of Jethro and Ruby to round it out.
Lovely. Yeah, excited to see this one. This looks like a really fun list. And having seen Hal pilot it a couple of times now, he just has a blast playing this thing. And then Jethro is one of the players that unfortunately didn't feature in any of the videos for the year end, the Canlander Championship finals. But the deck remains very similar. A few cards have been switched around. It's undoing some of the meta calls that were made for the year end. But Jethro is playing Abzan Delirium. Points for Jethro are 3 Moxen and a Strip Mine. Straightforward. Easy peasy.
Yep.
And we started the game with, a couple of 1-drops that add mana for Jethro, and a nice snake horse mount from Hal.
Yeah, I'm sure you're a big fan of that Bronco.
I love this thing.
And that's nice. That's a good one to get off the Bronco. Jethro had a bit of a scary turn 1, but no 3-drop on turn 2. Suggests I don't think he mulligans. Maybe a bit of a land-heavy hand, just kind of hoping to draw some top end here. Oh no, never mind. He's just got a really good card.
It's just
to play with this one.
It's just flash. Oh, it's been snared though.
So this is the cool thing, like with Hal's deck. It's not a full-on control deck. That's why I said it's like a bit reminiscent of Tempo, but it does have a few just really cheap, quick counters to try and get some value. Spell Pierce, Spell Snare, and Stifle being the 3 that he's running, and really good, excellent use of it there to protect the Caustic Bronco. Really cool.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because the Orcish Bowmasters, you kind of want it to resolve. So if Jethro knew that Hal was on Spell Snare, maybe that would have just been a main phased Bowmasters.
Yeah, possibly.
Because that feels pretty rough.
Yeah, that is bad. Obviously, having a really powerful 2-mana card counted for 1 mana. But it's I don't think there's the added value of being able to trade off like the Bowmaster ETB basically for the Bronco is huge.
It's worth going for it, I think.
Yeah, it was a rough spot there though, because the Unholy Heat would be able to blow out the blocker anyway. So Hal was in a pretty good spot with what we've seen him draw. But and a cool little 2-drop as well for Hal on this turn through of this is Zoyoa. That can't be how that's pronounced.
The Lava Tongue. Lava Tongue.
Yes, the Lava Tongue. It's a nice, again, that's a cute little bit of synergy with all the discard that's going on. Like just to get some value out of just fetches, out of discarding cards that you want in your graveyard. There's Anger in this list, for example. You can get an Oxogonus in there, as you've cleverly picked from the art to try and bring that back. So just a cool little synergy piece. 2/2 Death Touch, like not a huge mana investment if Caracas ends up showing up on Jeffro's side, so you're not too sad from that point of view. But just already getting getting a Temple Garden out of Jethro's hand. I'm sure it'll chip in for a little bit here and there before it finally goes the way of all things.
It's funny, isn't it? Because this Zoyoa kind of epitomizes to me the difference between like a Grixis mid-range and an Abzan mid-range, where the Grixis is a little bit more like attacking opponents' resources, whereas the Abzan mid-range is just generating more value for self.
Yeah, I think that's very true. That's why I said at the beginning, like, this is an aggressive mid-range list. Like, there's a lot of 1 and 2 drops, and there's a lot of cheap spells. But because of the 3-color nature and the kind of reactive name of it, it does lean more into, like you say, an aggressive mid-range than a full-out aggro deck. But it's just a cool combination of those types of cheap cards across a lot of different creature types. And Inti's obviously a really powerful one here.
This one doesn't generate some value. Whenever you attack, you can discard a card, and if you do, put a +1/+1 counter on a target attacking creature and it gains trample, and whenever you discard a card, you get to exile the top card of your library, and you can play that card until your next end step.
Yeah, so a lot of value there, and this 3/3 Death Touch getting bigger so it can attack easily.
That's not what we
That's unfortunate. Yeah, that's not where you wanted that to go. This Bronco getting a lot of value in, but that's unfortunate about the anger. Obviously, anger is one you want in a bin for all kinds of value, and there is a bit of obviously Madness is the name of the deck. There's not loads of cards with the Madness mechanic. There are some, obviously, but it's more just to kind of represent the draw discard. But there's a bunch of value you can get, like just not only just from having it in the bin, but he used to be playing a Burning Root Waller. I don't see it in the list anymore, but that's kind of how deep Hal was going at one point on this deck to try and get value. So yeah.
And then I'll just play a Badlands. And
What was the card that was revealed there? I missed it.
It was the Urza's Bauble.
Okay.
The one that was
No,
sorry. Oh no, sorry. The
Jethro's
two
hand.
Urza's Bauble. Yeah, it was the basic planes, I think. So,
Okay.
Yeah, nothing all that fancy. And it does look like Jethro's got a mana heavy hand that he just kind of had maybe just had a couple mana dorks and the Bowmaster. Was hoping to draw into something a bit more powerful, but yeah, he's still got that planes in hand. The Shifting Woodland is gone. So it looks like one spell left in hand for him. So just a bit of a slow start. Well, a fast turn 1, but nothing to accelerate into.
I think that spell snare was pretty brutal, wasn't it? Considering the lack of threats that Jethro is able to lay down here.
Yeah, and obviously there's just a lot of pressure here from Hal. 3 really good 2-drops. And I think that might be an opposition agent in Jethro's hand, which is still like not a great blocker into the pressure that Hal's putting on the board. Maybe it's not though. Maybe I've misseen it. It can be the first time.
Oh, the Arid Mesa's back.
Just doing a bit of the maths that is never for blockers. The maths for mana and people casting spells. He's a very considered player, Jethro. Will definitely like find the right line, as he's seen a few times. Just take the time to find the line, as it were. Got to imagine his planes as a play because he's not got a white source without it. And that is a Shriekmaw, which we knew he had. So it's whether it's if there is an opposition agent, which you can't really see from the glare, it would be evoke Shriekmaw for the Inti. No, it's Gonti, not opposition agent. That's a much cooler one. And this is one of the things we talked about. I think Jethro's put back in that maybe wasn't in the year-end deck list. Cards that are just maybe a bit cooler and do a bit more fun things rather than just trying to optimize to win a. No, some good cards there.
Emperor of Bones, Inquisition.
Yeah, it depends on. I mean, he can cast both of those next turn. He's obviously not taking the misstep. Going for the Inquisition.
I suspect it would be Emperor, right? Because you can just
you can slam it. It does have interaction with Hal's graveyard.
Yep.
Hal's deck does care about the graveyard, and also like it's presenting more of a threat. And as we discussed, Jethro is struggling from not having had much of a board presence beyond a couple mana dorks until this turn, so that helps there as well. The Mesa is gone though, gone forever.
It's good to know.
End of your main phase. I'm just going to heat it.
Yeah, so that's the Unholy Heat we've known about for a while. Seems reasonable. Like Jethro knew that was coming, but
smart play there from Hal to get rid of it before we actually went to combat.
Yeah, just trying to protect the graveyard. Even though there's nothing there at the minute that cares about it loads, there's obviously stuff that you can get value out of whilst it's there. Things
got
like
to-
Abzan Oculus and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So.
that's yeah. I got to play with the new Gonti at Ether Drift pre-release this weekend.
Saddle wrong.
Lovely.
That's a fun card as well. Whenever anything hits your opponent, you get to essentially Ragavan them, exile the top card of their library. You can play it, and then you get treasures when you do play them.
Okay.
Pretty sweet.
Gonti's got some cool mechanics about caring about opponents' things.
Yes.
So
And then I'll reveal
yes.
to Bronco.
Glad you had some fun at pre-release. It's always a nice place to be.
Yes.
Grave is in exile.
Yeah, sure.
And then I'm coming in for 3.
Yeah, that seems like a fair
Gonti
trade.
down.
I'm gonna
So 2 for 2, that Gonti was in essence in the grand scheme of things, which is always good. Hal looks like maybe flooding a little bit. Just would like to draw a bit more gas, but
actually, no, I'm gonna play.
I love how Hal's bin is just like starting to merge with
yeah,
the lands on board.
we're not quite at dredge levels of graveyard nonsense, but give him time.
Play Kiora the Rising Tide.
Ooh, Kiora likes this bin being large.
I'll pitch
Yep, make a big old 8/8.
and fear of missing out, and I have 2 indie triggers.
Yep.
So I reveal.
You start seeing all the synergy
Cruise.
combined here into some bit of silliness.
And there's a treasure cruise. Alright, so there's a decision to be made here, right?
Okay, I will draw a card.
So
Oh,
does Kiora does Hal want an 8/8 or 3 cards?
Cruise is that it does take me off.
Now, for me, there's a very simple answer to the question because an 8/8 doesn't draw you 3 cards, so there's no comparison there whatsoever.
It's not even close.
You might also suspect that Hal can probably refill his bin. That's kind of what his deck does to a large extent. So maybe he's like, the treasure cruise I can only do now, right? Because it's off of this Inti. Whereas I can get there again with Kiora with a bit of help.
Yeah, it is a fairly straightforward decision. It's just upsetting that we don't get a Kraken.
I know.
It's just called see a Kiora. It's not that common a card to see kind of show up here. So
Yeah, I do like seeing the new cards making their way in. Well, specifically cards that aren't MH3 cards.
yes, those are always nice.
Are there any cards from Ether Drift that you expect to make waves in the format?
So I went through the cards I got at the end of the weekend, and pretty much the only one I'm putting into a deck is Ketramos.
Okay.
Like all the rest of them just seem like low impact and not too impactful. But that's mostly for the decks I play. Like there's some, there's a few. There's like a Goblin that got Lord I think in here, and there's like a new hand attack spell and a kind of a 2-mana sorcery speed removal spell that cares about how big your graveyard is. That does get walk. So there are like a few bits of value. The lands are obviously we've seen Verges be good based on the Duskmourn.
Yeah.
Like will do stuff. So they kind of almost go without saying.
Yeah.
In terms of new, the one that I was really excited about and would hey look, we're gonna have a Kraken anyway. It's totally fine. The one that I think is really cool, and I wish I want to find a home for it is the other god, the Frog God. I just think that's a really cool card design. It's probably not good enough for Canlander at 5 mana and doesn't do anything immediately. But it's just cool. I quite like it.
Not good enough does not mean we're not going to play it.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Ketramos, I think, is the obvious standout. Yeah, here it comes. Ketramos is the obvious standout one, especially if you've got
Treasure Cruise.
I'm interested in it for Esper Control because that's got Cruise, it's got Dig, it's got Murktide, it's got Binoculars, it's got Swords of Plowshare, it's got March for the Worldly Light, it's got Leyline Binding, it's got Prismatic Ending, it's got so many ways to exile things quite often, and just having so it doesn't seem too hard to make it active and also draw all those extra cards.
Okay. So these trade off and you take 5? Yep.
It makes me want to play a Blink Flicker deck. Because
Yes, just to kind
that
of
would be
abuse
sweet.
it, and
Yeah.
probably more the way it was intended to be abused. rather
Yes,
than-
exactly. Not just, here, exile my whole bin.
Yes, my Binoculars also comes with me drawing an extra card. That seems fair.
That card did need power creeping.
There is an 8/8 though, and a 2/3 Menace, which is kind of scary too. Jethro. Oh, a Baragoyf there is big.
Kind of what Jethro needs at this point.
Yep. Baragoyf is such a big draw. Baragoyf's always a big draw. Yep, that just seems like it's always the right the right choice to play a Baragoyf if you've got the option to.
Creature, artifact, instant.
It might just end up trading with this Merfolk. Maybe Jethro just kind of chumps it for a turn to get rid of the Kiora, possibly. I'm not sure, but
I'll cast
Then that's a nice card to be chumping with as well. A Muscle Dread Knight. So
Comes back. A nice little combo where the Baragoyf gains you some life, the Dread Knight draws you the cards from the life you've gained.
yeah.
In true Abzan fashion.
Jethro starting to grind, starting on a bit lower life total than he'd probably like to be, but it's stabilizing on board. And
yeah, definitely a lot later than it. Oh, Dak faded.
yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
Hey Jethro, where are all your artifacts?
There's not loads of targets here. Moxon's a Skull Clamp, pre-war formal wear, but like nothing that's super impactful. Skull Clamp's obviously really powerful, but we're past the stage where Moxon will have the big impact. So maybe, Jeffro's not running Saga anymore since he's moved back to Strip Mine as well. So
that's all right. Dak's just going to be faithless looting
over and over again.
Turn
Still pretty
after
good.
turn. Yep.
But I'm just ignoring the border of that card. It's terrifying.
What? Oh dear, I really don't like these things. Not okay with white bordered new cards. But oh well.
Not attack with.
Yeah, these ones just feel particularly bad just because the white's so thick around the bottom. It's all personal preference though.
It just looks like somebody spilt Tipex on a card.
Get them off.
Yeah, it does a little bit, doesn't it? Although I still didn't like them, I will say the gold/yellow cards that came from Aether Drift weren't as bad as I imagined they could be.
Okay.
Um,
I was about to ask which one's worse. Do you want your cards to look like Tipex or you?
I'm trying to decide. It's a difficult decision here. White borders probably to me. Oh, that's so thick, that white border. I don't know. That's really old white border. That Bayou, got no problem with that whatsoever. Lovely little Bayou. It's just so. I don't know. I refuse to commit to either one of these.
You're going to choose the piss cards, aren't you? You prefer.
Yeah. I don't think I do. Like, I didn't even end up keeping any of the couple that I opened at the weekend. Like, they just went straight onto the website for sale. So
we have another Bowmasters on board here.
I'll use my second Bowmasters trigger to deal another one to death, right?
And this is in response to the Dread Knight.
Sorry, so
That's pretty sweet.
One trigger is resolved.
yeah, he's get an extra bit of value. Hal won't let Jethro have a Bowmasters, but more than happy to have one himself. Obviously, that's perfectly reasonable.
Fair's fair.
I assume this token should be a 2/2. No? Jethro's drawn the extra card. Has he not drawn the extra card yet? Have I just missed something?
We're on the Bowmasters.
Yeah,
No, we're responding because
we're
the
responding still.
shaman's being targeted, I think.
That trigger resolves.
Right, I see. That makes sense. And then the other one happens. Yeah.
Got black floating.
Gonna get some deadly brew value here, possibly, which is one of Jethro's pet cards to a large extent.
Just fits, doesn't it? It's like
Yeah. That's exactly what he wants it to do. It's not doing as much work as it has done before. Like, there's just a 2/2 Orc Army token that Hal's pretty happy to sacrifice here, or even the Blood State Champion if you feel like he's going to be getting in quickly. But yeah, just getting the Dread back high might not even bother with. Oh, he does bother with the Deadly Brew by the look of it. Nope, never mind. Change my mind.
I suspect it's just going to be sacrifice the Dread Knight.
Yep, that does make sense. Dread Knight and Orc Army gone here, I'd imagine. I'm not sure what Jethro's getting back.
It's the champion that's gone on Hal's side.
Doesn't need the mana. Decides to get rid of Ignoble.
Okay.
Has got a Lurus there to replay it next turn. So maybe
sweet.
just wants to hit mana. Yeah. Yeah.
There is more life in this game yet.
Yeah. Like a bit of a conservative line, but that seems reasonable when you're facing down an 8/8 and a Bowmaster, and potentially another 8/8 if the Secure doesn't attack and you just trade off with it anyway, because they are legendary. I'm pretty certain these Kraken, so
Yeah,
Hal can't make multiple of them. But if Jethro does just trade off this Baragoi for the Kraken, which he might have to do at some point, another one's just coming, which doesn't feel great.
So I think Hal's taken 5 or 6 damage off this Fiery Islet, and it's finally been sent to the grave.
Yeah.
It's a perfect time as well, because we have a push for the Baragoyf, and I think that's probably going to be the beginning of the end.
It does. I'm not sure what Jethro needs to kind of stabilize here, but it's a lot. I
Because you said that Lurus is in hand, right? So
think so, yeah.
it can't really get much back.
I'm not sure why Hal didn't send with the Kiora here and the Bowmasters, because on 10, the 8/8 has to be blocked, so he just kind of missed 4 points of damage there, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's happened.
Might just be in a bit of a I'm not losing this one. It's good. I'm just going to take the cautious line just to make sure that if something does happen, I can get this 8/8 back or something.
Yep.
There's pretty much only Solitude there, and I think Jethro had one card in hand, so.
That's what Jethro needs to cycle a troll.
Yep.
Perfect.
That's the powerful turn 5
The
play.
answer to this board position is a swamp.
I'm gonna get something untapped. Probably Scrublands. I'm gonna get Scrublands, and then.
Tunes is just
Lurus.
yeah. Lurus and whatever the best thing that Lurus can do. Which might just be the Dread Knight.
Trying to see, yeah, I think it is just Dread Knight.
I mean, this is 2 mana, fog and 8/8 forever, as long as Hal doesn't have removal. Although Hal's deck is quite interactive, being Grixis, and drawing so many cards a turn with this Stack Maiden. Look how full this is. Oh, it's a wonder. Just to finish the whole thing off.
Incredible.
We're going to send this legendary Kraken to the skies.
Wonder to the bin. Make it all fly.
Yeah.
That's a great way for that. That's a very Hal way for that game to end.
Yes.
Like it.
Yeah. Hal keeps having these horrible things where he wins games of cards that I'm like, that's not good enough for Canlander, and he just beats me with it anyway, so it doesn't matter regardless.
Yep.
Shadow of the Second Sun being a big one in his control deck, but I'm like, this is a 6-mana enchantment that doesn't do anything, but the thing it does do is a lot when you're struggling with it. So
The number of times, even in limited, where I go, do you know what? That's not a card that I'll ever draft, but boy, is it going to beat me a few times.
yeah. Just have to accept that sometimes you do lose to cards that you wouldn't.
I don't rate. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I lose to cards that I don't rate all the time because I don't rate red cards. So
My hand is,
Well,
this
there you
is
go.
the splinter twin in question. Faithless losing plus Wonder.
Oh,
Inti,
is this Inquisition going to absolutely wreck house? It does look like it might.
I think it's a decent keep,
but sadly not Wonder.
but
Want to anyway?
Yeah, that's real. The turn 1 Faithless Looting with a wonder to discard is really cool.
I suspect this
there's a lot
is
of
just an
value there.
Inti that we get rid of here.
I mean, there's not a second land. Like,
To be honest, I think this is pretty tough.
maybe it's greedy to take the Faithless Looting, but if Hal just misses a land drop or 2, I don't know. Maybe I'm greedy. Yeah, Jeffrey's much more restrained and responsible as a gamer than I am.
I think it's just like you don't want to take the Faithless Looting for them to then just top a land and they're off to the races, and probably Hal gets ahead quite quickly.
Yeah, he might do. I mean, like Jethro does run a lot of interaction, a lot of 2-for-1s. So just like letting an Inti resolve when there's nothing to attack with it isn't the worst. But on the flip side, like just a wonder being in the bin, like eventually that will go from one way or another. We've already seen Deathrite Shaman. Phyrexian Altar is still in Jethro's deck. Oh no, it's not. He's cut it. Oh, what a shame. That was always a fun one. But there's still a bunch of other interaction, like Emperor of Bones. We've seen things that care about.
Wait, so
eating it.
Graveyard Order doesn't matter?
I think for the first time in however long, Graveyard Order finally doesn't matter when you're playing against Jethro, which is a remarkable feeling, I suppose. Maybe loses some value without the Urza Saga. Now he's gone to Strip Mine. I'll have to ask him.
Interesting.
I've spent so long, retrained myself to not touch my graveyard as much as possible in Canlander games. Ooh, and now it doesn't matter. Potentially.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll make its way back in again. He's just keeping us on our toes. That's all it is.
Yeah, we'll just get used to it of it not being there, and then it will just come back. More disciplined play by Jethro here. I would be so greedy and wait for him to flash back that faithless looting. But learning from last game
Just
when
get
he
it on
got behind
board.
on board,
Yeah.
yeah, and just couldn't stabilize against Hal's aggression. Getting down quick, getting down some damage
Play a wooden cemetery.
makes total sense to me.
Yeah, this is looking real strong now. Strong position.
Another one of another one of Jethro's, like, again, not really a pet card. Course has probably been a bit power crept out, but I remember talking to him after the year end. He said he felt like he was really struggling for not having any kind of like top of deck information or value.
Interesting.
Like he used to play Augur of Autumn and Corsa. Obviously, Corsa's here now. I wonder if he's put Augur in. It doesn't look like he's put Augur in. Sorry.
So we've interestingly we've revealed a Vindicate from top through the Corsa, and then Broadside Bombardiers has made its way onto the battlefield, which is quite obviously a Vindicate target.
Yeah. It might just be your kind of Hal had the option to play with, wants to be mana efficient. Not having double black means he can't Emperor and GOS. But this is a pretty like sizable advantage Jethro has. He's committed a lot to the board. It's only down to one card in hand. Overlord represents a bunch more value, and another shot at hitting another land off the top of Corsa as well. So he's in a good spot here.
I'm gonna cast Unearth target Exterminator Cavalry. Sure.
Seems a good play though. Exsanguinated Cavalry is a scary card. It's just unfortunate that it basically trades with an Orc army here.
What does Exsanguinated Cavalry?
So it's a 2/3 menace, and when it hits your opponent, it gets a +1/+1 counter and makes a blood.
Okay.
So like it's good like ahead of curve or down or something, but like here he's basically attacking a 2/3 menace into Force of Prefix and an Overlord of the Bailmerk. So it's just
not going to get there.
No. Super unfortunate that Hal's not drawn a second black source, but has drawn almost exclusively like black cards and black threats. Gonti represents another scary one. Hal really needs to. I don't think there's any wraths or anything in here.
Hal went to get the volcanic island off the Arid Mesa.
Yep.
And considering what was in hand and what the deck looks like, I think Badlands might just have been the better decision.
That does make sense. I think he was kind of maybe a little bit blinded by the fact that Wonder needs an island for it to trigger, and the same with Anger needs a mountain.
Like Wonder doesn't actually come into effect until later on in the game normally. So
no, it is. Yeah, it's in some ways those decisions are marginal. Like the fact that you do a single black source was fortunate, but he theoretically is seeing 4 cards over the next 2 turn cycles. So like it's a little bit unfortunate that he didn't get there, but it would have been a safer way.
Yeah.
Just have the Badlands because you know you've got multiple black spells in hand, and just end up fetching for the island when the Wonder really matters. When either I don't quite know when that'll be because Jethro doesn't really attack you with flying very often. So I think Emrakul might be the only thing he has that flies, which feels like a bit of a misnomer. I think birds technically flies. Let's be real. But still, I'm not sure that's attacking
that's not a real creature.
Yeah, I attacked with that in the 2024
You
year
did
end.
to good effect.
Well, to effect, it did some stuff.
I think I'd argue that Guide of Souls is more impactful.
Yes, that's probably true. Well, it's more impactful on the opponent's life total, but
did your birds actually have a flying counter on it to make it actually? Maybe possibly. I can't remember.
It got 2 +1/+1 counters and a flying counter. The flying counter was totally redundant.
No, but yeah, okay.
Maybe it tells you what type of player I am, but I would much rather have a birds on turn 1.
I'll play a swamp. Yep.
Right, we go into game 3, and we get to see a random card of Jethro's. Is this is just in the deck to feed the bin, right?
Yes, there's probably some minor upsides. I'd imagine there's a Dragon's Mane Shallow in this deck. Yeah, so there's some upsides. It helps with Delirium.
So Delirium, it's
draws a card, cantrips, that type of thing.
I was just thinking, like, what decks does Bauble go into? And it's just Delirium. and wanting a big bin.
EOT, I'm gonna cycle this for a vault.
Baubles are interesting as well. I've been chatting to a few people who play like Delirium style decks, and Mishra's Bauble is quite easy and include, just because the value is more obvious than a Urza's Bauble.
Yep.
Plus, for a long time, I thought no one knew what the Urza's Bauble card was. So if someone would target you, you have to shuffle your hand up randomly. Show them a random card, and you're not supposed to know what it is, so you have to put it back and shuffle your hand up again, so you don't know what they see. Apparently, that's not right. Apparently, I got that wrong.
You get to know what they see.
I'll take my turn. Volk. Losing?
Look at this. Hal doing the thing.
Pitch. One.
Wonder gone again.
Poor Wonder. Only ever wants to be in basically the rubbish tip of the game.
Yep. What are the other coloured ones? So you've got we saw Anger.
Yep. The green one is Brawn, which is Trample.
Okay.
Oh, God. The black one is, I want to say, Swamp Walk, or Fear, or something about. They're all like types of evasion, I think.
Okay.
What's the white one, man?
Glory? Is it Glory?
It might. Yeah, that sounds vaguely right. I can't remember what it does, but let's do a quick Google / gather a check.
Yeah, not a clue.
Glory. Here we go. No, got it. No. Oh, that one's awkward.
So what does Glory do?
It's a creature. The stats don't really matter. 2 and a white. Choose a color. Creatures you control gain protection from the chosen color until end of turn. Activate only if this card is in your graveyard. So it is evasion in essence.
It's the clunkiest of them all, but okay.
Yeah. Filth. I think that's the black one.
Right. That just gives Swamp Walk.
I think it's Swamp Walk. Maybe it's Fear. Let's do another little check. Well, just while we're here, I've got the computer up and I can have a look. I just want to know if I'm right now. It is Filth. Creatures have Swamp Walk. Yep.
Okay. Meanwhile, there's some filth going on in our actual game because Baragor's come back out again.
Is that a turn 2 Baragorf?
It is.
Into
but
a turn
here's,
3 Oculus.
here's an Oculus, so we've got some real big hitters coming down early.
But the wonder's gone forever.
But I think, it nerfs your barrier.
Does seem
Alright.
like.
Oculus flies already, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'll say go and I'll manifest dread on you.
And this Nethergoyf doesn't really matter if it gets in for 0 in the air right now. So,
Well, the key thing was making the Baragorf smaller.
yes, that's also true. It's just a 1/2 now. Still trades annoyingly, but that 2/2 can at least get in if Jethro doesn't have anything to fill up the graveyard. Not get in, sorry, block it is the word I meant. 2/2s can always do something about a 1/2 Baragorf, even if it's trading with it.
As an appreciator of Goyfs, you'll like the fact that these two are just staring at each other, but I mean Baragorf just wins all Goyf-offs.
Yes, that does always feel annoying that literally every Goyf ever just dies to this one Goyf. Pyrogoyf can't kill this Goyf. I've said the word Goyf so many times it's lost all meaning now, but still, it does stand tall above the rest of them, even above the OG Tarmogoyf now. I think is just so much better.
Yep. You just feel like you have to block it. So this is interesting. Hal's considering chumping here.
Well, this is a 2/3, right? So if he double blocks, they will all
means that they will all die. But Hal does want Baragorf off the battlefield.
Yeah.
But the attack itself suggests that Jethro probably has some shenanigans.
Probably.
And Hal doesn't want to, I think if this happens and there's removal for Oculus, I think Hal's just in trouble.
Part of it does depend on what, you see that's a creature, so that Goyf is now 1 bigger. And if Jeffrey, I'm trying to see if there's anything in his hand. I can't see anything. That looks like a White of the Reliquary and Mosswood Dread Knight. Kirin, Teachings of the Kirin. I think that might have been maybe an omnivorous wipe up. Whereas now, the 2/2 and another Goyf, I suppose in that instance, the thing that grew the thing that grew one Goyf also grew another Goyf. Just to
Yes.
echo the flavor text, but so like a 2/2 and an Evergoyf is still representing that trade. But eventually Jethro will just start filling things in his bin that Hal doesn't have. Right, because that Baragoyf is a 3/4 and the Nethergoyf is a 2/3 currently.
But then, unless the Nethergoyf's not going to do anything while the Baragoyf's around, so I think I'd probably just tried to go for the double block there and just gone. If you want to remove something or make this not work, then fine. Because the Oculus is the problem, not the Goyf or the 2/2.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. It's a minor issue, like a minor point. Like, what do you lose if you double block? Because this Nethergoyf isn't doing a lot anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, it's always just going to be outclassed while the Baragoyf's on board.
Yeah.
Veronica, who is this? Oh, it's a Fallout card.
It's a Fallout card. This is one of the ones that has seen more play in some mono red decks, although not more a little bit medium red than like proper red. But it's like a worse Inti, to be honest. Yeah, that's probably the best. It's not even worse, but you know what I mean, because she has to attack.
Yeah.
You draw a card right in exile, but then you get to exile another card later. Like, there's obviously nuance to
There's some cool little like synergies going on with Hal's deck for sure with Veronica. There's discarding cards. You get junk tokens. Well, Hal's asking a rules question about.
All the combat damage will be done simultaneously.
Yeah, it won't care about what's in the bin, I don't believe.
Yeah, no, because the 2/2 has to hit the bin at the same time as the Baragoyf hitting the bin.
Yes.
So it's not like a spell resolving.
No, well, it's not even the spell resolving. The problem with burn spells in particular is that the spell resolves and then state-based actions happen, and it sees that this creature with 3 toughness has 3 damage put on it, so it dies. But at that point, the spell's already in the bin. So if it would make that 4, for example, on a Tarmogoyf or a Baragoyf, that's when that impacts it. It doesn't even impact if it's like a Swords or a Fatal Push or anything.
Whereas say this face-down card is a Planeswalker, for example.
Yeah,
we never get to see that is in the bin until the Baragoyf is also in the bin.
It's already dead. Yep, that's exactly right. Definitely not Delirious. Jethro. So this is just guaranteeing the land drop. Traverse. Yeah, this is a really cool card actually. A Layer of the Land that also turns into Demonic Tutor halfway through the game is pretty cool. It's not quite Demonic Tutor obviously, but Jethro's definitely optimized this deck for creatures. So like there's obviously a lot of powerful lands in here that you can get which are really good. Strip Mine is obviously one that's pointed, but you know we've had Shifting Woodland we've seen in an earlier game as well, which is really cool. But also like the getting the threat or the answer or whatever that you need to say. There's so many 2-for-1s in Jethro's deck that sometimes this can just get a creature that you know remove some. You know, there's Necron Deathmarks in Jethro's deck, which is an artifact creature that mills himself and kills an opponent and is a 5/3. Like that's a lot of things on a spell. But it also can just get the Emrakul, which I've lost count of how many times I've died to that particular Emrakul. So it's always slightly terrifying.
So it looks like Hal's changed his mind and is going to go for the double block now. And so it's just a case of... It doesn't look like there are any instants in the bin at the moment. So that's brutal.
That is a horrendous blowout because you don't need to...
That's bad.
Yeah, you can kill the other creature that's a threat and still win this combat because of the way Nethergoyf works.
Yes, that's
versus Baragoyf.
So I guess that's the kind of blowout that Hal was avoiding the previous turn with a chump, and this time he's gone for it. And I think that's like a game-losing play.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that bit of triumph with the recent draw, if he had it last turn. I couldn't see it, but there was a couple of cards in Jethro's hand I couldn't see. So like. That's huge. That's like a 3-for-1. That's absolutely massive, and it's really rough to cope with. And yeah, Nethergoyf is an interesting one. The fact that it's like the only Goyf that cares about your own bin. I'd imagine Tarmogoyf at 1 mana would be a bit pushed, even if you took away the exile clause. But then again, we're paying 3 mana for Tarmogoyf with Trample and Canlander, and that's still pretty playable with Polygoyf, even if the Myriad never does anything. So
I didn't know there were so many of them, to be honest, until I played against your Oops All Goyf deck.
there wasn't that many until Modern Horizons came out.
Fair enough.
There wasn't that many playable ones until Modern Horizons 3 came out. Sorry, there was one of the commanders was very Goyf led, so had a bunch of new Goyfs, and I think that's why
Nice.
Baragoyf and Pyrogoyf both came from that commander set, I believe.
We have a burning
Anyway.
inquiry.
Yeah, such a cool card. Mostly sees play in modern decks for Hollow One,
Yes, yep.
but is a really cool include here.
This is just like a Hail Mary, though, right?
Yeah, what the heck could I possibly get that saves me? Do not know, but we'll go for it.
I love it, especially when there's only one card in hand there for Hal, so it's like draw 3, discard 3 of the 4, and see whether that last one gets us anything.
Yeah, these 3 cards need to have one amazing card on it, and then I only have a 25% chance of keeping that card anyway.
What,
It's rough.
what do we want to see here? We want to see a push. Oh wait, yeah, a push would be good.
Jethro not getting a warning there. How nice to not be in Compower again. Sorry. This is I can't think of this is one of the reasons I struggle with playing Gamble in red decks. I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna discard the thing I want and it's gonna be brutal. And Hal hasn't even got to tutor, he's just got to hope it's on the top of his library. Does interact with Jethro, but Jethro likes things in his graveyard anyway. So
keep this, and I discard Ivora,
Ox of
Oxes?
Agonis into the bin.
if you can survive to that, that's not bad. And Jethro will be figuring out the optimal way to roll dice so that you only have to roll one set
Jethro
of
loves
dice.
rolling his dice.
Large to small. Sorry. Low to high. Okay. Large to small. So
2.
Sorry, it's the 6 first because I have 6.
He's
2.
12.
And then.
Whenever Jethro is figuring out all these lines of what you should roll to do the most randomness, I'm like, can I not just shuffle and present and you take 3? It seems so much more complex, even if it's like a more mathematically accurate.
Then I'm going to play an Unearth my Abhorrent Oculus.
Yep. You did the thing.
Okay,
Hey.
that's cool. That's pretty good.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Sack my muscle gun. Okay. I don't know why I tapped it.
Yeah,
that's insane. That's so cool.
Yeah.
We
If you're going to
managed to
stabilize, that's step one.
inquiry for an unearthed Oculus. Love that.
Cradle is a little bit terrifying for Jethro to be and getting now. Just 3 cards in hand.
I have an Ox.
Meh. What's mana anyway?
But I will be having a 2.
I just, whenever I'm seeing at Jethro, he's getting to large amounts of mana, I'm just Emrakul, please no Emrakul. It's the thing to be aware of, I guess. But maybe that's just my own personal trauma from playing
Probably, yeah.
against Jethro all these years. So
I had Blazing Root Wall when I cut it. Upkeep.
we're going to get the Manifest Red.
I'll put Anger in my graveyard.
What we can with it.
Manifest this.
I think Hal's wobbling his leg.
There we go. Just calm down.
I think Hal's just getting a bit excited about that Unearth. Understandably.
Maybe stabilizing. Yeah. How big is this Baragoyf now? Land, creature, instant, sorcery.
Big.
Only 4. Yeah, that's the easy 4, right? So
Okay.
no cheeky artifacts or enchantments or kindred or battles sneaking their way in anywhere.
Not like that. What is it like?
It's one of the entertaining things about watching Jethro is watching him optimize every
Figure out.
bit of everything to do it
Must be correct.
Yes. Which I think is partly why, obviously, Jethro is one of the players who tends to go a bit longer in games, and it's because he thinks things through so much. But like he
Gets
does
good
have
results.
the record.
Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah.
the
To
results
show
are
the
there to
effort.
show. I think a lot of people will level up considerably just from slowing down.
Yeah, it's really hard to not. I'm just as bad at it. I'm like, I decide on my play and then I top deck something like, well, whatever. I've already decided on my play. And that's not always right. It's frequently not right, in fact. So like just the extra time is super important, and that goes for pretty much every format, right? Just taking a bit more time to consider stuff.
Yep. Well, Oculus has been dealt with once more.
Yep. And there is still what 4, 5, 6 mana on the battlefield.
One spare mana, Necro Death Mark.
Yeah, it's an Echo Death Mark I mentioned earlier, which is this is obviously a 2-for-1, right? It's a creature that stays around and kills something, but the mill is there's the Emrakul. Everything's just showing up a little bit after I discuss it. The mill 3 is really relevant.
Creature, artifacts.
Like it may have been that if Jethro had done this earlier, he would have been like, "Ooh, I could unearth this witness and get back at Emrakul." But again, that Jethro's usually one to not go for the greedy line if he can avoid it.
Yeah.
But Hal once again under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I think as soon as the Oculus from the Unearth disappears again, it's the beginning of the end.
Yeah. Veronica to get any value wants to attack on defense. It's just a 3/3.
We are technically in turns now.
Right. Okay. So we're getting close.
Game's probably a bit over. I'm gonna escape this Ox.
Ox has been escaped.
I need to keep my graveyard order, right?
Hal not sounding super optimistic about his chances at this stage either.
I imagine it probably won't matter.
Exiling 8 cards, is it?
2,
Optimizing, seeing if he can maybe cut this Bargoyf down at all, but it does seem rough. Just going for not mono sorceries and
7, 8.
oh, there was a Mox in there as well, so that Goyf is not that the Goyf's not scary at 4, but you know what I mean. It's even scarier than what it was.
All right, he's calling it there. Well, cool game, and there was some real cool plays and cool cards being drawn. But Jethro does win the battle of the mid ranges.
Yeah, just all of that grind, keeping him going. Very impressive.
I'm glad that we got to see a Jethro match, though, considering he was absent from the camera in the finals.
Yes, that surprised me. I definitely did not expect Jethro to have the record he did in the finals. I was expecting him to go quite far. So nice to get him on to kind of make up for that.
Yeah, thanks for joining again. Catch you next time.
Cheers, mate.